We've seen from the speakers earlier the sort of intervention stage is 5 to 10 years is an ideal. We've seen the courses that are going to be made available for that 16 to 18 population. Our expertise really is in the workplace. That's what we do. That's what we do for a living. So we see people who are the end product of that. I know this is all time-led at the moment, but we see people literally from hire to retire in the workplace. We see new entrants coming in all the way through their workplace journey, all the way up to the point of retirement, and actually, as part of our other work, beyond that. It's interesting, I think, to kind of take that journey and look at what we're trying to do in those interventions from our earlier speakers and see where we are now. So looking at the workplace and those new entrants, there's a lot of talk about financial education. We see financial education as a driver of financial well-being. We talked about well-being a little bit earlier, and that codependence between physical, mental, and financial. And there's been a lot of study in the workplace about this, and the fact that these three can't exist without one another, actually, and that they do depend on one another, and actually some of them drive other outcomes. So to look at any in isolation is to miss a big piece of the jigsaw. Coming back to what we're talking about today, which is the financial aspect, from our knowledge and what I would say about that sort of early part of people's career, there's a lot in the media, and there has been recently about millennials and snowflakes and young people. We've done some research, quite a lot of research ourselves around this, and lots of other people have done research in this area. Fundamentally, these people have very similar needs and wants to all of us. There's some really interesting research from the Harvard School and INSEAD that kind of says this is not just generationally different, this is different because of their age and life stage. When they become 30 plus, when they become 40 plus, they will start exhibiting some of the behaviours that those people at that age now are. So some of the behaviours that they're displaying are to do with their stage in life, not necessarily their generation, although we must recognise generational differences. But stepping back from that, what I would say is that the things that we find that work best, we are obviously looking at people who are entering the workplace and all the way through, is don't underestimate getting the basics right. And I know that can sound quite patronising. I don't mean it to be at all. But some of the research we did in the summer was around, we called it the Lifetime Savings Challenge. And it wasn't just looking at whether people are saving enough. It's looking at how confident they were in that those savings were actually going to help them achieve their savings goals. So where are they putting those savings? Where are they investing them? How did they choose? How did they know? And one of the stark findings from that I think is relevant to today's discussion is 14% of 18 to 34-year-olds said they would save more if they could budget. Now that, to me, was a very shocking thing, because that age group in particular are techno-savvy. They do a lot of their research and investigation online. They use apps more. There are so many budgeting apps out there. There are so many online budgeters. But they weren't, for some reason, they weren't accessing that. So somewhere there's a disconnect. But if we could reach those people, 14% is a big number to shift from saving something to saving more. So actually a very easy intervention to get right. There's also a big piece about debt, and we talk about people entering the workforce with debt. Debt is not the villain. There is good debt and there is bad debt. Very few of us could afford to go and buy a house with cash. We all probably need to go and look at a mortgage of some kind. A mortgage is good debt. So actually getting people to understand that debt isn't the villain, but bad debt is the villain, and actually understanding credit worthiness. So some of the basics are there. And in particular, financial education we see as equipping people not only to make better decisions, more informed decisions. It's that going back to that teach a man to fish. because once you do, every decision they make from that point on is going to be better. But it's building financial resilience. And I'm not talking about financial resilience in the sense of having an emergency fund. I'm talking about financial resilience so that they are not prey to the person in the pub who tells them this is the best investment known to man, to a piece that they might read in the media saying this is fantastic, or to any clever marketing. We need them to be able to assess what's in front of them and make a good decision.